Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrindadevi 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 Jaya Vrindadevi.
Just like Messiah trees, who can fulfill the ties. Radha Madhava
Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Stotara Pravikacharyas, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya, BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Swami Ki Jai. Shri Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Glories to Sri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is the 64th, the 10th canto, the 64th chapter, the deliverance of King Nriga. And I'm going to start on the next text, which is text 39. And actually, I think I'm just going to finish the chapter because this is very hard-hitting from Lord Sri Krishna about how we should conduct ourselves. So this is text 39. Swadatam baradatam va Brahma vrittim hare chaya Shashti varsha sahasrani Vistayam jayate krimi Swadatam baradatam va Brahma vrittam hare chaya Shashti varsha sahasrani Vistayam jayate krimi Swadatam baradatam va Brahma vrittim hare chaya Shashti varsha sahasrani Vishtayam jayate krimi. Notice. Swadatam paradatam va Ramavritim harestraya Shashti varsha sahasrani Vishtayam jayate krimi Swadatam baradatam va Brahma vrittim harechaya Shashti varsha sahasrani Vishtayam jayate krimi Swadatam baradatam va Brahma vrittim harechaya Sastravrisharani Vistayam jayate krimi Swadatam baradatam va Brahma vrittim harechaya Shashti varsha sahasrani Vishtayam jayate krimi. Ladies. Swadatam paradatam va Brahma vrittim harechaya Shashti varsha sahasrani Vishtayam jayate krimi Swadatam baradatam va Brahma vrittim harechaya Brahmasi varsha sahasrani Vishtayam jayate krimi. Swa, by himself, datam, given, para, by another, datam, given, va, or, brahmavritim, a brahmana's property, haret, steals, cha, and Yahu, Shashti, 60, Varsha, of years, Sahasrani, thousands, Vishtayam, in feces, Jayate, is born, Krimi, a worm. Translation. whether it be his own gift or someone else's. A person who steals a Brahmana's property will take birth as a worm in feces for 60,000 years. So there's no purport by the servants of the BBT, so I'd like to, maybe we can all read together the next several verses, because in this section, Lord Sri Krishna is delivering the hard-hitting message of this whole entire chapter. So text 40. Name brahmadanam bhuyad. Yeah, let's do it together. Yad gridva bhayuso nara parajitas bhajad bhavyandut yejino haya. Translation: I do not desire Brahmana's wealth. Those who lust after it become short-lived and are defeated. They lose their kingdoms and become snakes who trouble others. Text 41. Vipram kritagasam api. Let's do it together. Naiva druyata mamaka grinantam bahu sapanam va namaskuruta nityasa. My dear followers, never treat a learned Brahman harshly, even if he has sinned. Even if he attacks you physically or repeatedly curses you, always continue to offer him obeisances. Purport: Lord Krishna offers this instruction not only to his personal associates, but to all those who claim to be followers of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 42, let's chant together. Yataham praname vipran anukalam samahita tatta namata yuyam cha yonyata me sadandabak. Just as I always carefully bow down to Brahmanas, so all of you should likewise bow down to them. I will punish anyone who acts otherwise. Text 43. Together. Brahmanarto hyaparito hartaram patayad yada ajanantam api yenam nrigam brahmana gauriva. When a Brahmana's property is stolen, even unknowingly, it certainly causes the person who takes it to fall down, just as the Brahmana's cow did to Nriga. Purport: the Lord here demonstrates that his instructions are not theoretical but practical, as seen concretely in the case of Nriga Maharaj. And finally, text 44. Please, let's sing together. Evam Vishraya Bhagavan Mukundo Dwara Kaukasha Pavana Sarva Lokanam Vivesha Nija Mandiram. Having thus instructed the residents of Dwarka, Lord Mukunda, purifier of all the worlds, entered his palace. Om Jnana Tiramandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. And there's no purports except for the two I read, but I do want to read some of the purports from the Goswamis, particularly those of Sanatana Goswami, who is very carefully unpacking in the last few what we just read. Sanatana Goswami, this is his comment on text 40. Not only does the person suffer a low birth both in this life and the next, he suffers even though he wants to avoid this by his strength or trickery. In order to show fear to others, the Lord himself shows fear with extreme disgust. Let this theft not be dealt or done for me or related to me, since it is done with violence or devious desires, with a desire that I accept it. In this life, he has a short life, is defeated by enemies, loses his kingdom, and in the next life becomes a snake or a worm in feces for 60,000 years, which gives trouble to others in the form of fear. Or they become like snakes and again attain hellish life. Though one can accept offerings made by brahmanas out of devotion on behalf of the Lord, he should not accept such offerings, since they are often taken by force, or to teach the people. He does not consider his own position as the Lord. And then in text 43, Sanatana Goswami writes, in all cases, one should have devotion to brahmanas. One should not steal from them at any time, anything, by any means. This is the summary. Stolen wealth, artaha, causes the stealer to fall, even if he does so unknowingly. What to speak of doing it in knowledge? That is certain, he. The example is this person, Enam, Nriga. You have directly seen it. And then text 44. Having made the people hear by example and proof, Vishravya, in this way, since he was endowed with unlimited good qualities such as respecting brahmanas, he gave the highest bliss or freed everyone from all suffering by showing the fault of taking a brahmana's property, Mukunda. The people of Dwarka, being followers of the Lord, were naturally respectful to brahmanas. Why did he make them hear this? By instructing all the people on the pretext of instructing them, he purified them, Pavana, just as he instructed Arjuna, his dear friend, the avatara of Nara, to benefit the people. Om Gyanatanamandasha, Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumiritamyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Thus then the purport of the humble servants of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada to the 10th canto, 64th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Deliverance of King Nirga. So we've been hearing throughout this particular pastime, which I find is interestingly juxtaposition between our last wonderful chapter, and then the very next chapter is Lord Balaram visits Vrindavan. So it's kind of wedged into some really higher topics, and what it appears is that Lord Sri Krishna is giving this very valuable instruction to us all, the residents of Dwarka, the Dham, or those Vaishnavas who are hearing from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And as we heard recently, and I believe it was last week, Pancharatna Prabhu was here and asked very pointedly, who is a Brahmana? Because we hear particularly, and this is relating to us in Kali Yuga, Kalo Shudra Sambhava. We're all born as Shudras. So who is a Brahmana, he asked. And the answer is that the Vaishnavas are actually Brahmanas. We can infer from our scriptures and our studies and Prabhupada's instruction that the Vaishnavas are considered to be Brahmanas. And in that, we can actually understand that we must be very careful when we're dealing with Vaishnavas, particularly. And as practitioners on this path, it's very easy sometimes to slip into a space where maybe we're thinking that, okay, I'm doing all the right things, I'm chanting my rounds, I'm following, 16 and 4, Hari Parshad Prabhu said, 16 and 4, I'm doing all the right things. So then I have a little more leeway. I can do different things. I can think of one instance when sometimes we go out and we just sort of pick leaves or flowers indiscriminately from the park or maybe somebody's yard even, and we're thinking about serving this, offering this to Krishna. And Krishna just stated that even though somebody is receiving some piece of property or some article to maybe even offer to the Lord, that's not the way to go about offering something to the Lord, is to take from another, And I'm not targeting anybody in particular, or even saying that, it's wrong to go and pick leaves out of, sometimes I go to Poets Walk and I pick, some huge, what are those, magnolias to put on the altar, And I feel like, that's maybe the proprietors or the caretakers of this park will get some, gata sukriti, because they're giving these magnolias nicely to the, that's sort of my, well now, I'm rethinking that position, because, we have to be very careful. Krishna's in everybody's heart, Krishna's in the heart of every living entity. And of course, Krishna knows our intention, if we're taking magnolias from the public park, or we're, even I've heard of people taking flowers right out of, Home Depot or some kind of, retail store, which is actually would be considered stealing, because, we're not purchasing those flowers, we're not purchasing that plant. So Krishna is being very, very instructive, and he's giving us the worst case scenario, or the actual case, if we do these things that are against our dharma, which is obviously not to be greedy, or not to steal, or particularly I was thinking sometimes, and let's talk about just brahmana to brahmana. I've had the instance where maybe I've left a article of clothing, like a wrap or something, in the temple, and I go back later and it's gone. It's gone. And I think, well, maybe somebody needs that thing at this point, and I'm not really that jazzed about it. I can't really get very upset. I probably have 10 more in the closet, so it's not a big deal. But, Krishna herein is speaking of this very, very seriously, very gravely, because even that minor infraction, unknowingly, maybe that person, and I actually know of one instance where a person who's no longer here took something of mine, and I was looking, and because someone had given it to me, and so I didn't want to lose it, and I was looking, and then wasn't found. And then a couple weeks later, I saw this devotee wearing that item. And I was, I just thought, okay, they need that item. I'm not gonna say much about it. But, it's something that's stuck in my memory, something that's stuck in my mind. Not in a ill-intentioned, but it's just there. It's just there. And as Brahmanas, as Vaishnavas, our actions create, it's not really a samskara, but it's sort of a something in the mind of another, whether it's unknowingly or knowingly, that can cause disturbance. If you're turned into a snake, Krishna's saying, you're going to cause a disturbance, because even the sight of a snake causes disturbance, even if he's not doing anything. Sometimes we're in the garden and we're working, and maybe there'll be some helper and they'll find a snake and freak out, and they want to grab a shovel and kill it. And I'm like, no, the snake eats, they eat rodents, they eat things, just let them do their work and leave them alone, type of thing. But, sight of a snake causes disturbance. So if there's, even that thought that somebody has taken something even from another, or some wrongdoing happened, just minor, it creates this thing in the mind of the devotee. It creates a disturbance. And as devotees, as Vaishnavas, as aspiring devotees, I should say, of Krishna, following Krishna's, he talks about his followers should always remember this injunction. Following Krishna comes with a lot of responsibility of how we should conduct ourselves and how to treat others, whether they're card-carrying devotees or card-carrying members of ISKCON, or they're not devotees, or they're the workers in Home Depot, who's looking at somebody plucking flowers from a tree, it creates this sort of impression that's unfavorable. And, King Nriga, as we've heard, he was very much into creating a favorable impression of himself, right? He was doing all these great charity works. He was giving so many cows. He was giving all this riches to the brahmanas and to the citizens. And he was trying for him, it was something to, I'm not going to say he was trying to make himself look good, but it did anyway. He made himself look very magnanimous, very charitable, and we've heard that, it's sort of a karma kandya type of a mentality, because if he was really trying to aspire to please the Lord, then he would be focused on that, the point, rather than trying to do all these other sort of ritualistic activities. But the point, rather than sort of, but for, this, when we read about the Bhagavatam, I have to remind myself, we're not in that world. We're in this material world where there's so many, there's so much stress, strife, anxiety. Vaishnavas are the 2%, 1% margin of the whole entire population. We're infinitesimal by comparison to the rest of the population of this world, But still, even though that's the case, and maybe everybody won't notice what we're doing, or they won't see us very much, they don't, have you ever noticed something to the, but and or they notice sometimes when we're out on Harinam or book distribution, or things like going to the bank, sometimes, people look at us differently because they can tell that we're not ordinary. They can't really put their finger on it. Sometimes they might hone in on the kanti mala, or if we wear tilak somewhere, they'll ask. But most of the time, people are very dull. They're not really able to discern the difference between others until someone does something or acts in such a way that makes them take notice, right? I'm not going to name names, but yesterday we went to see the movie, the big movie, and it was quite astounding. It was just, I was personally blown away. I was actually contemplating walking back into the next one, trying to not get caught, but I didn't want to do that. I was going to buy a ticket. But one devotee who was with us decided that they wanted to wear devotional clothes, which, is fine. When you wear devotional clothes, you immediately, there's a spotlight, on one, right? Because everybody doesn't usually see dhoti, sari like that in South Point Mall. They don't see that. And it just so happened that this particular devotee decided that he wanted to go to the snack bar and buy, something to eat, which, it looked normal enough. Like everybody in the theater can, they can understand that that person's hungry. They're not really saying too much. But, like literally everybody else in the theater, we all, rest of us, usually in theaters it's chilly, so I just wore pants and like a wrap and whatever. I just sort of dress comfortably. But when you see, and it's not a bad thing, but you see that one person out of the group who's, kind of not really representing, but kind of representing because they're dressed differently, and then they're they are doing things that maybe aren't really conventional to the group. it's very noticeable. You know, it's very noticeable to the public. It's very noticeable to everybody who's around, you know, devotee, non-devotee alike. So it's like Prabhupada said, you know, if you're wearing a black ink on a white dhoti, shows up immediately. You can't hide it. You can't cover it. And, you know, so in that way, we have to try to be spotless in our dealings and our affairs, how we conduct ourselves, how we interact with people, you know, in different circumstances. We have to be above reproach, you know, with that. Always the best example. And unfortunately, if we're not, you know, we've heard of 3 instances in this chapter. We can either become lizards in a well, we can become worms in stool for 60,000 years, or we can become snakes that, you know, create disturbance and, you know, continually are being chased with shovels and machetes because they're disturbance, you know. So it's like of utmost importance that as we cultivate our own sadachar, our own personal interaction with everyone, with every living entity even, right? Whether it be the cat or, you know, a snake at the house. You know, usually when we see snakes, we leave them alone. You know, they're not bothering us, we're not bothering them, you know. Although yesterday someone was being literally attacked by mosquitoes, and then that's another thing, because they were just, actually I couldn't believe it. They were all going onto this person's leg. I've never seen them like come out in such force. There was like 10 on them in a little space, and they're like, I was like, you got to kill them, you know. What Prabhupada says, if someone's attacking, then you must defend. But that's, you know, that's mosquitoes, right? That's not. So to be the topmost in our dealings with others is the message here. I mean, stealing it's a great offense, you know. That goes right along with the first through chapter 1 through 3 of the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, you know. And it's talking in there about being free from covetousness and, you know, always being truthful and all of the qualities of a devotee. And this is just one instance of how stealing particularly is very abominable, and it should all help us to rethink our approach when it comes to dealing with possessions, money. You know, I was speaking with somebody throughout this chapter about this, being, you know, how to be very, very careful with what's given to the Lord, you know, through Lakshmi, money, being very careful. And all the things belonging to the Lord, all the paraphernalia, all of the, just holding everything in the highest esteem, because everything that we have is given to us by the Lord. So to squander or to, you know, be dismissive or careless with it is inviting, as we understand, it's inviting not a very auspicious destination, not a very careless with not a good ending for us. And it also goes along with our being humble. You know, if someone's so bold and, you know, presumptuous as to just take things that aren't belonging to them, whether it's for the Lord or not for the Lord, it's actually, it's part of I was realizing recently that our society, or actually human beings, what it feels like is you have to constantly fight against the tendency to be narcissistic, you know, because we want everything and we want it now. That's our go-to mentality. I want it all and I want it now. And, that's very demonic. And to try to rail against that is constantly our struggle. And while we're in these bodies in this material world, it's our struggle is to be very gracious, very humble, and very patient and very tolerant with not only others but ourselves. I'm sorry, I wanted to invite questions, but anyway, thank you so much for your attention. All glories to the Srimad Bhagavatam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Marhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Vasyan Vipan Kayanti Jiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami 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 Govindam Adi Purusham
Namo Vishnu Pataya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Gasaminiti Namande Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Ja Neke Nivesesha Shunyavani Vasyachade Satarane Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Siva Sari Gaurmata Vrinda Shri Krishna Nana Ramanityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Siva Sari Gaurmata Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ramanityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Siva Sadi Gaurmata Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare, Rama 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 Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Goloka Narad, hey, Jaya Shri Rahat, hey, Jai Om Vishnupad. Jaya Shri Rahat, Jai Om Vishnupad.
Chaitodarpanam Arjanam Bhava Mahadavani Nirvapanam Shreya Kairavya Chandrikavitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi. You're at home on the altar. Hare Krishna. Very nice. Hi. Hare Krishna. Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Hoda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapita Niyamita Smarane Natala Etadrishi Tavakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Dordaiva Midrishami Hajjanina Nuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Suhishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadaram Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Ahoitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishamebhavam Buddha Kripayata Vapada Pankaja Stita Duli Sadrashim Vachintaya Nayanam Gadashu Daraya Vadanam Gad Gadarudaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vabukada Tavanamagrahaneba Vishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Ravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlishava Badamradam Anastumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuva Yatatatava Vidadatu Lampato Mat Prananatastusa Eva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking of ourselves lower than the straw in the street, than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service birth after birth. O Samaraj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. And somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly? Chant your holy name. When I choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? Oh, Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace. or makes me brokenhearted by not being present before me, he is completely free to do anything and everything, for he's always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Shri Shastastika Ki Jai.